Hi there, it's Stacy from Watercolor Together, and it's been a really long time since I posted a video, in part because life has just really gotten in the way and I haven't been able to paint. For a long time I was painting almost every day and then filming some videos on the weekend, and that worked really well, and life has just not given me room to do that right now, and so I'm lucky to paint once a week instead of every day. And so taking my personal painting time to film a video, I'm just not willing to give that up, and so I haven't been filming. But I've had some days off because of the holidays, and I thought this would be a fun thing to do. So it's not really part of any series or anything like that. I'm just sharing with you something that I started when I first started painting, and I think it's a great practice. So what I did, well, let's go back to the beginning. In December of 2022, one of my daughters had come across a TikToker, and she said, "Mom, this is really cool. This is 30 days to fall in love with painting, and you should try it. You should do it." And so it was watercolors, and I hadn't really done watercolor painting before, and so I've done other illustration art, but not watercolor. So I started off with like really crappy supplies. I had a multimedia sketchbook that's kind of thin paper. It was not watercolor paper. And then some old brushes. But I did have professional quality paints, which was really nice because I had purchased watercolors for my daughter, who is an artist, and I always believed in buying good supplies. And so she had really nice paints. So I borrowed her set of paints, and I kind of pulled together some other things that were just okay. So that's where my starting point was. And at that time, I didn't have very good drawing skills. I had, but it had been a really long time. It had been like 30 years since I had done any real art. So I was very, very rusty, and didn't really know how to get the paint from the palette onto the paper, didn't know about values, didn't have any kind of water control, all of those things. So truly a beginner. And I just did these exercises. It was one a day for 30 days. And by the end of the 30 days, I did fall in love with watercolors. So it was a great series to get me started. But one of those exercises in that first 30 days, and that was in December of 2022, was to use warm colors or cool colors, it was like yellows or pinks, to paint a landscape and to do them side by side so you can see how that affects mood. So I did that, and I have a reference photo here. Let me grab it. It's off camera. I used this reference photo for that painting, and this is a color copy of a picture that I took at a state park that we camp at all the time. So that's the reference photo I used, and my results were pretty terrible. They're really bad. I didn't have, like, it's kind of cattywampus, there's no definition, no value. You can kind of see that there's trees, deck, and water, but that's about it. This was really a pretty poor attempt, but this was my starting point. And so then when December 2023 rolled around, and I had been painting for 1 year, now I was so good about painting almost every day, especially in those first 2 years, from like 2022 until 2024. Things have kind of fallen apart in 2025, but I'm hoping to get back to more regular practice. Anyway, so in 2023 in December, I thought it would be fun to take the same reference photo and paint the same painting, but to see what my progress was. So this was my result. And you can see there's huge progress. If you look at these two paintings, oh my gosh, they're not even in the same universe. And so this I painted in 2023, 1 year after some very dedicated practice. And you know what? I made a lot of progress here. But then I repainted the painting in 2024. And you can see there are some things, actually, I think I handled the water a little bit better in this original painting than I did here. But look at the sky. And even the way the land comes in, and my values and balance, and the definition in the foliage, the definition in this dock. Here it's very, very light, and because it's so light, and then you have this light here, and some of this light here, it's kind of a stripy painting, whereas this is not. I think that this has a bit better composition, and the value is handled better. So progress from, this is 2023 to 2024, and so now I'm painting 2025's version. And again, I haven't been painting nearly as often. I do paint at least once a week. I've been doing a lot of sketchbook work, which is kind of fun. And maybe we'll do some videos on that. We'll see. We'll see how things go. I'm hopeful for 2026 that life will have calmed down a bit and I get a bit more painting time, and then that means I can do a bit more filming. So anyway, let's get started with this year's photo. I'm going to hold this up again. If you want to paint along with me, you can. If you don't, if you just want to, here it is. You can screenshot it, or I'll see if I can link a photo in the description as well. I'm probably going to use Winrose. I'll probably use sap green, so this is going to be my supply list, but I might change it as I go. A cobalt blue is probably going to make its way in there. Let's see, maybe some quinacridone gold, maybe some permanent violet. I'm not sure, but that's going to be kind of my color palette. And then just the other supplies are going to be typical supplies. I think today I'm going to work a little bit bigger than I have in the previous paintings, and I'm going to paint a 10 by 15 paper, but I'm going to cut it down to 10 by 12. And so I'm going to be working on a block, and it is Bao Huang's artist grade. This is the artist grade Bao Huang paper, and it's on a block, which is nice. I'm not going to tape out the edges. I decided I went back and forth, but you can see I do have a piece of tape across the top here because I want to cut this down to 10 by 12. That way, if I decide I want to frame it, it's a standard size. And then I've got my watercolor paints, jars, brushes, you know, the standard stuff. All right, so I'm gonna stop yabbering on and pop the camera up in the tripod and we can get started. All right, let's see. All right, I think we're pretty good here. I might move this a little bit this way just to be a little more comfortable. Okay, so you can see I've got my paints here. The water jars are off to the side. You can't see those. I'm gonna actually move my paintbrushes to over here so that I can reach them more easily. Usually I do this filming. Oh, and I've got some pretty bad lighting here. Let's see if I can fix the lighting. Hang on. All right, I think we're gonna start right now. I am painting at my table or my desk instead of my table, in part because my table's kind of a mess right now. And I don't have a good chair for it. Okay, so not that you really needed to know that. I guess that's kind of dumb. Anyway, all right, so I've got here's my drawing. And what I'm noticing is that I'm, you know, when you look at this, I'm about 2/3 and a third, but not quite. So this is my halfway point, and this dock over here starts at about the halfway point. So when I'm looking at my paper here, I'm going to kind of get, like, this is my halfway point, and that's where my dock is going to start. And then if I'm dividing my paper 1, 2, 3, that's not quite right? Let's see, this is the half, so it's just below, right? Just below. Okay, so this is my halfway. I'm just kind of taking this and thinking about and measuring, right? And it grows, like it starts like this, but it grows quite a bit bigger. Okay, I'm just making some landmarks. And I'm gonna make this sketch, it's gonna be a really, really quick little sketch. Okay, and the back of this stays, actually, let me see this. It just goes up a little bit. Okay, so we're here. We've got this like little background of stuff, this little bit of like background, right? And actually it kind of goes up, and that's too thick, but that's okay. Okay, like that. All right, and then we've got this kind of green bit that comes like this, and it's relatively straight. It angles a little bit. So I think I have to adjust these. Okay. That's where we're going to start. I don't want to be, yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay. So we're going to go here, and then this, let's make this a little bigger. All right. My dock is going to kind of come here and here. But what I want to look at is the angle is like this, and it flattens out. So it gets straighter, but as it comes here, it's more like this. So this first board, oops, I'm drawing at kind of a funky angle because I am trying to film it. So ordinarily when I'm sketching stuff, I'm moving my pad around a lot. I might do that here. You know what? Maybe we're gonna go like this, because otherwise I think I'm not gonna be very successful. I'm gonna move my paint. As you can see, All right, you can see that it's definitely been a while since I filmed because I am kind of feeling a little like unprepared. Okay. Anyway, so this first line, it kind of pops this way and it starts here, but it finishes up here. So I'm just going to use my ruler to establish that first kind of line of that first board. And I'm not worried about making, I'll go back in and do a better job with that. Now this one, what's happening is this one has just a little less angle, right? And so what we're going to do with that next one is, and it comes up like about here. Not a lot less angle, but a little less angle. So I'm going to, and it kind of like, it's really light here and then it gets darker. And it's like there's a little like wood here, right? And then we tend to see it more. So I'm going to go like that. Actually kind of comes in like that. All right, there we go. Kind of. And again, I'm trying to be looser about stuff. And that means not being so particular about all these little details. Okay. And then you can see the next one is a little closer because what's happening is, of course, we've got a perspective and it's getting, you know, and then it kind of disappears. Okay, and what we've got here is this one is coming like this. It's a little like here. If I look at this angle and then I look at this angle, it's just like coming up a little less. So we're going to want to do that. I'm going to come up a little less. So if this is my angle here, when I move my ruler up here like this, I just want to do a little less. And this board, you can see there's like a funky, it's kind of cool. It's like a funky little knot right here. This just gives me some landmarks to work with. And then we've got kind of a, there we go. And you can see that the like what you're seeing in this line is like the side of the board, you know, where it kind of drops into that groove, but that's kind of disappearing here. Now we have a bigger space between this board and this board, and that's deep and this one's deep. And after that, I'm not going to draw in any more of those lines because we're just going to do it with paint. All right, so now this one is relatively close. It's almost, I'm going to go like this. It's almost flat. And then we have one that's a little farther out, that's a little wider because there's just like a little more space. And it's still on an angle, but barely. We're going to draw that. Okay, now, what you can see here is that this board comes like this, right? But this is when we start to come in like that. And then we've got kind of like a, this one almost sticks out. So it's like it sticks out a little bit like this because it's not very even. And now what we're doing is this, ooh, I needed to look at that better. Okay, that's okay. Okay, this line comes like this. Oh, that's actually pretty good. Ooh, not at all. Okay. I think I've got this too steep. Yeah, like that. Okay. So we're going to go. Okay, I kind of like where I'm at here. So I'm just going to bring this here and see how that looks. Oh, definitely not steep enough. Okay. All right. Probably should have done this part before I started put the camera on, but I didn't, so we're just going to do it together. Okay, here we go. We're going to adjust this. Pudge. I don't know why I can't get this right. Now I'm like messing up my paper. Okay, I think because you know what? This line is wrong. That's part of it. There we go. I think I was kind of where I needed to be the first time around, and then I started second guessing myself. Okay, that works better. I like that. I like this and this. So we're going to leave that, and I'm going to just come here. Actually, this is looking, I don't know why I was struggling with that so much. This is looking good. All right, so then this has like a little, right? There we go. Okay. And it kind of comes, this board is actually a little sticks out. So let's stick it out. Sorry it took me so long, guys. I guess this is again, I'm kind of out of practice, right? Both for filming. Yeah, it kind of sticks out and then it comes back in. And this one's kind of wide. I don't know. It's like this is a wider board. Or we're not seeing. This is wrong. What I probably should have done is gotten this and this line in and then figured out where all these little planks were going, but I didn't do that. Okay, so we're gonna go like boom, boom, like this, and then this is just gonna be, this goes and then there's like some, and now you can see there's just some like interest here. And if there's any lines, they're just getting a lot skinnier because our boards are together. Now back here, we can kind of see, it's not perfect, right? Because this is a really old pier. You probably need to change some of these boards. Actually, when you walk on it, because I've been here many times, when you walk on it, it feels like they need to change the wood out. Okay, I'm gonna try not to overdraw this. So we are gonna get rid of this lines. I think I need to just like really squish in there. It's lighten everything. I need to lighten this up. See, that's too dark, but I'm gonna leave these kind of dark. I'm just gonna rub my eraser across this. Establishes the dock. Okay, and I feel like that line kind of comes like that. And if you look, this is just kind of like, there's like one board that sticks up over here. You can just see it kind of sticking up. There. Okay, that's close enough. And we've got a little bit of dark. Yeah. I think, does this make sense? I'm just making sure that this is nice and that the lines make sense here. You know, that it's got nice perspective, which I think it does. Now let's address up here. So this bit of land, right, comes like this, and right about here, it kind of mounds up, right? And there's kind of a hill. And we get flat like right here, and then there's a kind of mounds up again. All right, there we go. And our trees are coming. I don't have as much sky in this one. That's okay. Okay, so we've got this main big tree that kind of comes down right about here, right? And here's his trunk, and he kind of comes up like this. Looks like he's kind of leaning. And then there's another one that kind of forks like this. It looks like a fork. It's interesting, although it's higher up probably. I don't think I have that quite right. So let's just get that a little righter. Okay. Okay, and then what we have outside of here is this greenery. Like there's a tree that it's kind of a cool tree right here, right? And it's got like it's wind blown. So you got like this shape that kind of comes up and then it kind of comes down like this and then comes in. Kind of. All right, we're gonna keep it really loose. Loose, Stacy, loose, Stacy. Okay, now we've got like a pine tree that kind of comes, this is like not the prettiest tree actually, but it kind of comes like this. You can see. And the thing about this foliage is that it is all this, they're all different. You know, it's all like these, like this is a very like, and then we've got like a bush here. It's got some like, it's got like this kind of cool curvy, right? And then in front of here is a bush that's kind of sticks out like this. So I want to kind of, what I'm gonna try to do this time, which I don't think I've been successful in my other paintings, is to capture some of these layers. Like there's layers of foliage here, and I like this tree. This is a tree that or not tree, but like, I don't know if this is buckthorn or what. I don't know. Honeysuckle, could be honeysuckle. I don't really know. Okay, so we're gonna kind of come up here. I'm gonna try to, so one of the things I don't think I've been effective in the prior paintings was establishing that there's like this layered bit of, it all kind of just blends in, right? So not so, so I've got these two trees and then there's like a little bit behind here. Right, it's behind here, but this one kind of sticks out. I'm gonna kind of look at this guy right here. And he is all part of this. And then there's another tree that's coming up here, right? And then there's this like, this one is here. There's like this funky, this is part of the grass almost. It's kind of a weird deal. And then there's this is off in the distance is like an evergreeny tree. You can see it's like here. These are kind of the branches and there's some darkness underneath of there. Okay, there. And then there's another tree that comes in here. And a lot of this goes to that tree. It's a very yellowy kind of, and there's some branches that are coming here that are meeting. I think this tree, and this tree, they're all the same kind of tree. There's a branch that's kind of curling up here. All right. I think, and we've got some foliage here. I don't want to dry in all that foliage because I don't want to overdo it. But, all right, I'm going to kind of, but I wanted to kind of define what's happening down here because, again, that's an area where I just have gotten kind of lost. You can see there's actually another back here. This is like evergreeny, but this kind of comes along there. Okay, all right, I think we've got a good start. And then this is sort of the island. But you know what's interesting and something I've never noticed about this photograph before is that this island kind of comes like here, or it's a peninsula, not an island, because you can get to it if you walk. There's like the dock and there's water over here, and then if you walk around back this way, you can get to this side of things. There's a little park bench back in here, but you can't really see it in this photo, and I think if I tried to paint it, it wouldn't come out well. Okay, so like right here, it's almost like the water's a little like, I don't know, maybe there's some like algae or something right here. And you can kind of see that. Okay, and then because it's separate from, it's like there's this little green highlights right here, and it's kind of separate from this, which is off, this shoreline, which is off in the distance. And it kind of comes like this. This is where I don't think I've done as good a job in my previous painting. So this is an area where we can have some improvement. All right, I think we're ready. I'm gonna start with the sky, and when I paint the sky, I'm gonna come from here all the way into the water. But I'm gonna stop for the dock because I don't want it behind the dock. The dock's gonna have a very different tone. And if you look in here, we've got a lot of blues and greens, and this is a nice contrast to that. So I'm going to stop it. I'm not gonna use my blue behind here. All right, let's get out our big paintbrush. Let me get my paints. I'm gonna double check the view here. Let me put those away. How are we doing? Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to pull that off camera and let's get my paints out. I don't know. Can you see my, yeah, you can see my drawing. Okay, good. All right, we're going to go like that and that so you can see the whole palette, right? Okay. I could zoom in a little bit. I don't think that's going to be helpful. And this is a little bigger. I don't usually paint quite so big, especially on camera. Okay, can you see all the way to the bottom? Yes. Okay, barely, but yes. If I move the, yeah, okay. All right, thanks for being patient with me. If you're still watching, you're awesome. I don't know if this is exciting or kind of on the boring side. You know what I'm going to do too is I'm going to wipe this down. So sometimes I like a really dirty palette, but I think for today, we're going to start with a clean palette, so, or a clean-ish palette. All right. Okay, we've got everything set. I've got a towel back here to give myself a little bit of a lift because I want this on a bit of an angle. Okay. Yeah, my composition on this is different. It is more dark and less like, you know, less sky. And in the other paintings, there's more sky and the dock is not. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll see if we like that better or we don't. Okay, so I really like this brush. I think it's a great brush. You can see I've got some clouds here that are, and I could raise this tape a little bit, but I just don't want to. Okay, it gets really white down here, so it's light. It's darker up in here, and you can see, like, here's my clouds, right? So what I'm going to do, do I want to raise that tape up? No, I don't. I'm going to leave it. All right. What we're going to do is I'm going to start off with some of my, this is cobalt blue. Okay, and that's pretty, I think we need, this is a pretty bright. Let's take a little bit of cerulean blue into there. Okay, we're going to use the combination of those two blues. And I really like this 1 inch, it's made by Silver. It's called an Alpine White 1 inch flat, like, wash brush. I have one that's 2 inches as well, but I use this one all the time. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to paint in first water with there's a little bit on here, and I'm going to kind of just paint water for around where the clouds go. And you can see it's like just kind of like, yeah, so I'm going to leave the clouds not with water, and I'm going to come all the way down there we go, like the trees, because I'm okay with having that blue background. It's a little dark. I should have probably erased a little bit more. Okay, and now we're going to go all the way down. We're going to bring this water to this dock. I'm just going to kind of there. Because there's lightness in the water, but the lightness is reflecting the sky. So if I'm using the same colors all the way down, I'm going to have a really nice reflection. So that's why I'm doing it that way. Okay, so we're going to start with this, like, we're going to start with our, and I like to start light and work my way up. So I'm going to kind of mix those two together to get a nice blue. Now we're going to go to where we had water, and we're just going to pop in. See, and there's like a little, like, there. And then there's some clouds here. These are not going to be exact at all, and that's okay. Okay, let's get where our trees are. There's a little bit popping up in here, so we're going to just kind of give it a little bit of pop there. Oops. Not that that really matters. And then I have an old paper towel here. I'm going to just pull a little bit around where my clouds are just to keep it nice and soft. All right. We just want to soften that up a bit. All right, and now let's bring it all the way down into where this water is. And it's really, really light. You probably can barely see it, and that's all we want. Okay, we're gonna go in and add some grays to those clouds, but later. Right now what I wanna do, while this is still nice and wet, actually no. What do I want? We're gonna take, okay, so I'm gonna take my size 16. This is a silver black velvet brush. And I'm going to just drop in some of those darker areas. So I'm going to pull out my cerulean blue and a little cobalt blue to just tone it down. And we're just going to come in here and kind of drop in. It's nice and wet where my sky color is. And we kind of get, I'm actually just kind of playing with this, and I'm going to pull that out there a little bit where my trees are. We've got kind of a, like it pops through in a darker way, kind of back through here and a little bit up through here. Now I'm going to get water and I'm just going to like soften this up. But I'm going to use a combination of, I like to use a combination of water and paper towel. I feel like we need a little more pop of color. I think there's some depth of color right through here. And then what happens is it kind of fades down, right? We've got clouds, but it kind of fades. I don't feel like I'm doing a great job of this right now. This is what happens when you're hardly painting, is that you're not as happy with your stuff, or at least for me. Okay. Now we've got all these little clouds here, and I feel like I'm not handling that well. I'm going to actually go like this, and then, because I don't like the way that looked, and I'm going to pull out my clouds this way. Got these like little guys. There. Let's make this ledge come like this, because it's like there's a cloud that kind of comes like, oh, there, I'm liking this much better. So you know what, sometimes you just gotta mess with it until it starts to come together, and I guess that's what we needed to do here. We kind of come up into here a little bit. I know I'm not describing things very well because I'm just playing. I might leave this alone. Okay, I'm gonna just like, we're gonna kind of, this shape needs to be a little bit more like this. Okay, all right. Yep, I think we're just gonna kind of soften up some of those edges, and then we're gonna define the clouds a little later. All right, we're gonna call that done. As this, I wanna wait for this to dry a bit. Do we want to add, okay, so now for the clouds, what I'm going to do, maybe we're going to go right into there. I don't know. All right, I'm going to add I'm taking some of my cobalt blue, and then I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm going to grab just a little bit of permanent violet. I feel like this makes the prettiest gray. And if I need to add and tone it down a little, what I'm going to add is a little yellow. And I think we're using quinacridone gold this time. And you see just that little bit of yellow. I'm going to just use the tiniest amount because sometimes it overtakes it. Now I have this really lovely gray, and it's the gray that's going to be in the rest of the painting. I'm going to use quinacridone gold as my yellow along with my sap green. So it's just a nice way to make your color so that your palette is nice and continuous. Now, what's happening with these clouds is they're dark kind of on the bottom right here, and they're dark around here and here. I don't know if this is an improvement over my other skies, but that's okay. Like, we're trying to go for improvements, but I'm not sure that this is. All right, now let's go down here. And we've got just little fluffs here, right? Like, we just want to kind of, we're kind of defining that we've got these fluffy clouds and they've got some shadows on the bottom. And this one actually kind of comes up. There's like, yeah, see how it kind of comes up there? And then we're going to kind of pull out some paint. If I can, I'm going to pull out a little paint here. There. Now let's go like this. All right. And it kind of like comes around. All right. Is it fabulous? I'm not sure. But it's loose, right? And that's kind of what I was hoping for, was something a bit looser than I've painted in the past. Okay, so now let's get some of our greens in. And I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna grab some sap green is what I'm gonna start with. And then I'm either gonna add cobalt into it or I'm gonna add quinacridone gold. And I feel like one of the things I've always had trouble is having kind of like like my greens, they just don't always, I'm not always happy with them. And once I moved to using sap green in my palette and starting as, I was always mixing all my greens, and I can do that. It's not that I can't mix my greens, but I just feel like somehow, ooh, this got a hair that's coming out. That's one thing I don't love about these brushes, is probably of all of my brushes, these ones lose hair the most. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of pull in some of these greens now. Yeah. And it's going to need to be a little more because we've got some up here. Like there's more green up here. And let's pull some of our gold down in here because we've got some gold here. And I want to just, and there's some gold here. And we've got some gold on this side. And then we've got more neutral green here. And if you look in this like tree right here, that's got a bit more blue. So I'm going to just add some of my, there we go. Add some of my cobalt blue. And we're going to kind of like, this is where this, all right. We've got a little, and there's a bit more of the dark green here. And we've got like in here, this is darker. I'm actually going to add some blue right into here. Oh, that's so dark. Wasn't planning on that, but that's okay. Oh, we're going to see what happens with this. Again, I wanted to paint this really loosely, so that's what we're doing, and maybe it's going to turn out, and maybe it's going to be terrible. I don't know. We're going to kind of pull this back a little because I want to keep this kind of light edge here, right? So I'm going to pull that back. All right. Let's finish up here because we've got some greens that are coming here. We're a little sloppy, and that's okay. And then this is a bit more blue right down in here. There's like some blue here. What do you think, guys? Are we making an improvement over the other paintings? Not sure. Are we much looser? Yeah, so I think that part's good, right? Let's put my yellow in here. And then there's some darkness right in here. We're gonna make sure we include. Yep. And there is back in here as well. This is actually almost blue-gray. I think we're just going to use blue. Okay, and yep, like right here. This is a little dark here. I'm kind of mumbling. I don't think you can probably hear me. I'm talking about where it's a little darker and where it's a little lighter. Okay. I think we're going to leave that. It's a little like funky stripey looking, but that's okay. This is just our first layer. I am going to, this is too even. I think what I'm going to do is let's add a little splashing. That's what we need. Just in these areas where we've got all these leaves, right? And then I'm going to come back in and there. Oh, I like that. Okay, now we're going to add a little more yellow up here. Again, my whole goal was I've been painting so tight was to paint loosely. This is definitely loose. Looser than I think I ordinarily paint. I don't know if it's going to turn out or not. Okay, so down here, what's in this land is really yellow. So we're going to kind of come like this. And then it's almost like a gold. There's almost like this goldish color. It's like you can see right here, I got this a little low right here. So let's fix that. Okay. We're going to just take this quinacridone gold, and we're just going to make a nice straight line through here. And then we'll fill in and add some darker value later. But this gives us our base. Again, super different than I usually paint. So this is kind of fun. We're gonna roll with it. Okay, so now over here in this section, it's almost all blue with a little bit of green, but I want to add a bit of purple into there because it's off in the distance, and I want it to be a bit more muted. There we go. Look at that. Ooh, that's really pretty. A little bit of blue. A little bit of purple. It's like a purpley gray. So that's this little section here. And if it runs, yep, right here. I'm going to let there be a little bit of white there, the way that kind of edges in. But what I do want to do is I'm going to just get some water on my brush. This is just clear water, and I'm just going to kind of like soften this up a little. The thing about working with bigger brushes is you can't be as tight. So that's the good thing, right? Like I can't be as tight. I don't know why I did that. All right, that's good. And this, there just comes there. We're gonna just kind of establish that. Okay, I've got some awful blobs there. Really unhappy with that water bloom. That's okay. Can I mess with it? No, it's set. Okay. I'm not sure that this is going to be great. I think this might be a demonstration of what happens when you're not painting every day. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to make a really soft, we're going to work on the water. I'm going to make a really soft, and what you're going to see is that like, as water gets closer to you, those lines get farther apart. You see, and there's like, oh, I don't know that I love how green that is, but let's get some more blue in there. You can see they're kind of coming in more like this. Okay. This is not great. Man, oh man. I might not even post this video. Okay, now I think what we're going to do while this is wet is we are going to bring in some of this green, and we're just going to kind of look at like, here it's a bit more blue, so like here. And I just kind of bring it down like this in these back and forth motions. We're there's some like highlights of some more green right here, so let's do that. got some, this has got like lots of this color. Oh boy, guys, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this painting. I'm going to switch out from this brush. This brush holds a lot of water, maybe too much water. Maybe that's why I'm getting some blooming. So I'm going to switch over to my size 6 Da Vinci Maestro. This is a very full brush. It's probably more equivalent to a typical size 8 brush. Okay, so now we're going to get some of these colors. Let's get this in here right. Okay, yep, that's better. We've got this nice streaky effect, right? Oh, I like that. Okay, so we're looking up. We've got some things that are maybe going to work for us. This, we're going to go like that. And there's some other, like, let's see, where else is it bright? It's bright here. All the way. But there's more blue. You see on this side, there's more blue. And this side is not. It's more green. So let's pull in some darker green. Let's pull this darker green in. Because we've got like a lot of darker green in, like this one is a little darker. And we can hold our paper up even more if that's going to help us. Like this is really nice and dark. But we need some blue in there because it's got some blue. And I think we're going to dull it up. Remember we used just a little bit of, let's use a little bit of, like we can use a little bit of red, but I think let's grab some pink. Okay. Oh, too much pink, but that's okay. We need to make this darker anyway. All right. Ooh, that's good. Do you see how when we grab a little bit of pink and a little bit of blue, it just grays it. But this is a really nice color, and that's kind of what we're looking for, like in here. You can see, and then there's like a stripe, right? And the color streaks themselves tend to go pretty downward, like they're straight down. So you want to kind of make sure that you're keeping stuff straight. And then here there's like some It's kind of how it looks, right? And over here we've got like this lighter stuff, but then it's got like we're starting to dry. Okay, let's get some of this lighter color in here. We've got some more blues that kind of come in, like over here. This gets more and more blue, so we're going to let that be. We've got a bit more of the green. And a little bit more blue in here. Okay. And we're going to do a bit more kind of the blue with a little bit of, here we go, a little bit of that pink to bring it down to like a bit more gray. So cobalt blue, sap green, and a touch of Quin Rose. And that Quin Rose just sort of tones it down a bit. And we're going to come fix, like this is looking better, but this is not. So we're just going to come in here. Ooh, that should be more yellow. So let's add more Quin Gold. All right, so like this is more yellow and it kind of comes, oh, this is better. Okay, and there's some gaps. And I'm going to kind of pull some of the same color across all of it to join it together because it's a little disjointed looking. Except for here, this is pretty yellow. I'm gonna let's take this and make sure that we're making nice boards so that we've got a nice surface to work with here, right? Okay, what do we think? I think I like this. I think this needs to be a bit more like this. There we go. I think we're gonna go back in and mess with that a little bit later, but let's leave that for now. I think we've got a good starting point. We've got some funky blooms in here. I love what that happened. This, not happy with it at all. We'll figure it out later. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is, this is all really wet. Let's work, I'm gonna take my Quinn Rose over here and I'm gonna add, okay, so the color in here, and not that we have to replicate this, but there's some golden tones here and then it gets cooler here. So I think what we're gonna do is start with, and it's kind of gray, but I wanna start with, do I want it to be a bit more yellowy? What do we wanna do? Okay, if we wanna make gray, let's add a little bit of, okay, we're gonna add a little bit of blue to this. Ooh, that's perfect. Okay, I like that. And then what we're gonna do is, as we work our way down, we're gonna add more blue, right? So as we come up here, I'm just going to go where those, I'm gonna let the paper's texture really come through. Okay, and there we go. I think one of the things that in this picture, I'm going to try to I'm not going to be as literal as I have in the past, which is that now we're going to add a bit more blue to this. In the past, I was trying to match the color exactly, but I think actually this is using some pictures from some of the colors from the landscape a little bit more. I think that's going to lead to maybe a bit more cohesive painting. Okay, now I need to switch to my bigger brush because what I can see is happening is that's okay. Well, that's okay. Has to be okay, right? Okay. A little bit more of that blue. Okay, there we go. Didn't mean for that to happen, but I guess it's okay. Add a little bit more blue. Little quinacridone gold. There we go. Or not quin gold, I'm sorry, quin pink. There we go. Actually, this was a mistake, but I kind of like it. All right. Oh, I'm happy with this. And what is making me happy is I feel like I'm always looking for improvements. I'm looking for things to be better than they were. I'm looser. But what I like about this dock is I think I've always approached it in a more kind of literal way, which meant that I was, it's pretty pink, but that's okay. Just getting some like color on here. Okay. I think because I was approaching it in such a literal way, what was happening is there was huge contrast between the colors here and the colors here. And in the original reference photo, you can see there is a pretty big, huge contrast, but I think I like this better in not being so contrasty. What I also like is that here, you know, I was trying to pick up the colors of the dock, and the same thing here. Now the dock has a bit more value to it, so in this painting I have a bit more value. Here, I'm thinking more about creating this depth of warmth to cool, right? So we're warm and then warm, and we get cool as we get to the outside edges of the painting. So this is going to be cool and this is going to be warm, and I love that idea. And those are things I wouldn't have seen a year ago. So, you know, maybe this is not so cleaned up right now, and so I'm always looking for like, what have I changed in my painting in the last year? That's probably it, right? I've got some really nice texture. It's definitely looser, which I'm trying really hard to be looser, you know, not be so tight on everything. So I think those are things that are good. I am going to add some of these darker colors. I'm going to switch back to this. Oh, do we want to stay with this? I'm going to stay with this brush. Okay. And so what I want to do is add some of the depth to this dock. And I'm going to do that by mixing up in this. I'm going to leave this my blues and greens. I think I'm going to use this well. And we're going to get some gray. So we're going to do blue. We're going to make a gray with a little bit of yellow. Well, that was more yellow than I planned. So let's get some more blue. And I want to make this and then a bit of quinacridone pink. All right, there we go. I think before I used a lot more purple when I made the painting, and I'm not doing that this time, so that's cool too. Okay, so we're going to just come along here, and we're going to let the paint do its thing. And then I'm going to use a lighter version of this. So I'm going to add just a little bit of water, and I'm going to just kind of add some texture. Okay, that probably should have been more blue. Ooh, that was too much blue. Okay, not loving that. Too much blue. Too much blue. I'm just going to kind of pull that back a little. Now it's going to look overworked. Dang it. Oh well. All right, I'm mixing up my gray again because I used up too much of it. A little more blue. Okay, there. Now I think we have the color better. Okay, so we're going to go like this. Let's get this here again. And then let's just... We should be moving with the grain of the wood, which I'm kind of doing. I'm kind of having trouble hitting these edges. This is why I usually tape. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing here. And we've got this like wet. I should be looking at the reference photo more, I guess. We're just going to let the paint and paper do it this time. Okay, now we're going to add just a touch of warmth to that. Not very much, but we're going to kind of pull in. And there's like, okay, so what's happening is some parts of the dock are wet towards the edge. And so that's where you're seeing this, like, let's get that edge nice. That's where you're seeing this like wetter, darker color. And then it kind of, and then it kind of isn't so much. I don't think I'm going to add more texture to the back. Okay, what I am going to do is add these darker lines. And I want to do that while it's kind of wet because I want them to flow a little. So we're going to get, I'm not going to use this brush. What happens is I don't switch out my brushes as often as I should. I'm going to get my size 5, which again is a very Maestro. The Maestro brushes, these are by didnt. They're just really generously sized. So when I say size 5, when I look at other size 5 brushes, they are much thinner. All right, we're going to just get a nice dark gray here. Ooh, look at how pretty that is. All right, and we're just going to come along these edges. All right, let's do that again. So we've got another one that comes right here. And this one didn't like it. Remember, it has this like funkiness here that we liked, that I liked. So we're going to go like that. And I think I want to add just a touch of blue to that. And a little bit more yellow just to gray it out. Okay. Blue. Okay, and now let's just go. It's got a lot of pink to it here. Got a lot of pink. Maybe a little more pink than I intended. I have to learn how to cut this video and fast forward through some of this because this is slow and I don't know that you're going to want to see all of this. Oops. Okay, I like that. Now, we've got another one. It's a little bit lighter. It's right here. I'm just going to kind of, again, put that line in there. Put right here. I'm holding my hand in a really funky way. I don't know why. That was pretty terrible. Let's just pull that up a little. Okay. And we've got kind of like right here, we've got this. This is going to be warmer. I'm just going to add a little bit more. There we go. A little bit more of the yellow. I use my fingers a lot lately. I don't know. This is just going to be a little more blending in. So I'm just going to kind of pull that off. So I'm going to paint it and then pull it up a little because I don't want... There. Okay. Let's blend that. This is a little darker. So we want this to be a little darker. This one for sure. And right now, because the paint is wet, it's spreading still and it's creating some cool textures. And then after it dries, we'll go back in and create a bit harder edge here in some of these. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I won't. We'll see. We'll see what we want the star of the painting to be. Because right now I think I'm not quite sure. It's not these dots. Okay, let's work on the trees. I'm going to go back to my larger brush, which is my size 6, and we're going to work on this pile of paint, but we're going to refresh it. I'm going to add a bit more of the quinacridone gold over here. And we're going to add a bit more of our cobalt blue here, and we've got, of course, our good old sap green here. And the brands for all 3 of these colors are Daniel Smith. So this is a Daniel Smith sap, Daniel Smith cobalt, and Daniel Smith quin gold. Okay, and let's just add a bit more definition. So this tree is here, right? And it kind of, it comes in front of that tree back there. So that's good. I'm happy with that. Now there's a bit of, I'm gonna pull some pink over here. I'm gonna make a dark kind of gray green, and I'm gonna do that with a pink, quin pink, and a little bit of cobalt blue. A little more cobalt blue. There we go. See how that makes a really nice dark green, but I'm using the colors that I'm mixing for the rest of my green, so it's not going to get super obnoxious. So now this kind of comes in like that, right? There is a shadow that comes right here. And it kind of comes like that. There we go. Over to the edge of the water. Now, this tree here is a bit bluer and lighter in color. So I'm going to add, not lighter, but it's just got like a more blue tones to it. So we're going to add a bit more of our cobalt blue into our green here. And that's going to be kind of our base color. And remember, this had this like this kind of wavy, I kind of loved how these were kind of like a wavy, but again, I'm trying to keep it we'll let some of that bleed, but we're going to leave some hard edge there. All right, and then there's going to be, this is going to be, I'm going to take this same, I'm going to do it off to the side. There we go. I want it to be a little bluer for part of this part. So right here is there. And there's like a little bluer right, it's darker there. All right. I don't know if that is quite what I wanted, but it's what we got. I think this is a little more like, and then it comes a little more like that. There, I think I like that better. Okay, that's better. Okay, now we've got, what I do want to do is I'm going to kind of bridge this in like with this green color like this, and it kind of comes like this. So we're just creating, and there's like this is really dark, so I want to grab some really, I'm going to make a really dark gray here using my 3 colors, but on the blue side because it's really dark but kind of cool. But we still have the green and the pink in there, right? And that kind of comes in a little more pink. Ooh, too much pink. Well, we're gonna have a nice dark color. Ooh, that's good. Okay, so now we're gonna kind of come in like this. I guess this is like this really, and the thing is, I want to have, again, I'm trying to paint with really good values. All right. In some places we're going to drop a bit more blue in, like here. This has some more blue. This is like it comes down like this. Okay, so I'm looking, this swoops up and it's like it's kind of a light green, right? And so this foliage kind of swoops up to here. It's really light right there. And there's little bits of, let's get a nice bright green in some spots because there's like these little bits of leaves that are coming here and you can kind of see them. So we just want to give a little bit of that. Okay. And then up here around our tree, this is like a little clump of leaves here. And then they kind of they clump here. Right? They kind of rain on down. So this would be a nice spot to give a little boom, boom, boom. A little bit of, yep. If they're too drippy, you just kind of pop some of them out. And then same thing up here. We've got like a nice, this is kind of that more pure green that's happening up in these tree leaves here. It's less, yeah, in this foliage, there's a bit more like color to it. And this is a bit more, I think because you got more sunshine up here, this green just feels a little more like a true green. So I'm just going to want to leave that. And I'm really trying not to, I'm holding my paintbrush at the very end. I'm trying so hard not to overwork this, trying so hard not to overpaint it. This is the idea of that I'm going to be so much more loose in my painting and just really embrace and let the paint do its own thing instead of trying to control it so much, because that's what I have had a really hard time with. Now what I can see is that we've got some really nice kind of dark blue like in here to add some definition. And then this big tree right here has this like lighter color that's coming like this, but then it kind of develops into a darker color. And then we've got this really nice dark green that kind of flows into it. Same thing up here. Let's get this really dark green. This darker value kind of comes in like that. Comes in. Oh my gosh, I am so much looser than I've ever been before. So this feels good. Like even if it looks a little crazy, which I kind of think it does. This is a problem with me and painting loose, is that sometimes I'm like, ooh, some people do such a good job with it, and I just feel like I really struggle with it. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit of splatter down here. And then we've got this bush here, and there's kind of some darkness up back in here. But that's about it. And then this is like really dark right here. Right, this guy here. Okay, I think we're going to kind of leave this. Oh, have I wrecked it? I'm not sure. But we're going to see how, we're going to just leave it be right now. There's like some funky grass over there, but I'm not going to do that. What do you think? Okay, We do have some really nice shadows going, but I think I'd like a little more blue in them. Actually, should I leave it alone? I should leave it alone, but I'm not going to leave it alone. Okay. Now I am. Okay. I do want to add, this is just so dark. Oops. And it's not coming across as being really dark. It's right up in here. There. All right, I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna touch it because I'm gonna start muddying it up. Except for I am gonna go and put some midtones here because it needs some midtones. Same thing with this one. Okay. And this one needs to be darkened up just a little bit back here. A little more blue. A little more cobalt blue, and I'm just gonna kind of add some definition there. Yep, and it's a little darker in the middle here. A little bit down here. Okay, there we go. Oh gosh, that I'm happy with. Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, I feel like right here, I think I should leave it alone, actually. I think I need to leave it alone. There is like a nice dark spot right here, but maybe I need to go back in. I think I'm going to go back in and do a little bit of negative painting in there to give it a bit more definition, kind of like what happened here, but that should be when it's dry. So the next thing is going to be to create a better water line here, and I'm going to do that first with this yellowy color. I'm just going to kind of come back in here just to develop this, like, hey, this is the line of the edge of the water. And then, and now let's work on this water. So if I'm looking at my reference photo, like there's a lot more color to this, especially as we get here. It's a little softer over there. And then there's color. Let's go like this. Okay, so I'm going to take a little pile of my just plain blue, and I'm going to kind of just give it a little bit of like, and what happens that's different about water is that the lightness and the darkness, those stripes get smaller as you go, right? Like here, we're seeing them a little bit more, and there's like some, right? But when we get back here, they're closer together. That's what I was trying to say. And then let's do a little bit of like, I'm gonna add a little bit of pink. Just make it a little gray. And I'm just gonna, oop, there we go. We got some pink and some cobalt blue here with a little bit of the green. And I'm just gonna come in here, not so much here, there's maybe like a few spots, right? But here there's more. And you can see there's like, as I get closer to me, they're a little bigger. And more defined. And you can see they're like, and they'll kind of like go like that. And I'm just kind of like, there we go. I'm really just looking at my reference. I'm trying to look at my reference photo and see like, so we've got this like texture in here, and I'm trying to do that without going crazy, right? Because we don't want too much. I'm going to get just a little bit of my blue with a little bit of my original bright color here. And we're just going to like hit some, oh, that's too bright. Definitely too bright. Okay, let's pull that back. There. I'm watering that down more. And I'm just going to add in, because you've got this like kind of like, you can kind of see it in here as being like, again, it gets a lot more, right? But you see that blue reflecting from the sky into the water. And I'm just kind of going back and forth and filling in between these areas. And they get darker as they come here. Now we've got to do the same thing here. And we've got this like kind of bright blue, like right in here. It does this like really kind of cool reflecting. And if you look, it kind of comes like this. So I'm going to kind of come like, and it just has more of the sky, more of that sky color. And so we're just going to make sure that we have plenty of that here. And then there's more of it as we get here. And I'm just kind of layering up, adding where I think I need to, but trying not to overdo it. There's a nice, like, it kind of comes here, right? And there's one that's like back here. Okay, now what we're gonna do is pull in some darker of our greens. And I'm just gonna kind of pull from different areas. And there's like some darker right here. It's interesting how dark they get. Like there's a couple of spots like right here that get really dark. There. Let's add a little bit of pigment here. And a little bit of that to get it a little grayed out. A little more blue. There we go. We've got like kind of a blue gray green here. Now I notice up here we've got like this really dark. And so we're gonna that might be a little too dark. So if it's a little too dark, we're just gonna grab our paper towel and pull it up a little. There we go. Okay, let's try again because we want it to be dark, but maybe not so dark that we lose the sense of water. Now we've got a little more yellowy green, so let's get a little Quin Gold in here. And we're gonna just kind of go like this. Again, this is almost solid, and then you just see some occasional highlights. And it just kind of pops into here a little bit. A bit more quinacridone gold. The nice thing is this is a good strong color, and that's in here. You see kind of like comes in like that, so I like that. And then it goes to like a nice green with a little bit of blue in it, and it almost, let's get a little bit of cobalt, and it kind of like, it's almost solid. Okay, like that. Ooh, I really like that. Okay. And then there's like some areas that are much darker. So let's just grab our pink, our Quin Rose, Quin Gold, Sap Green. It's like all the colors we've used. It's gonna be a little muddy, but it is a little muddy. And it's like right here. And it's kind of right here. And then it kind of comes out. Ooh, that's really dark. That's okay. We're just gonna kind of. Okay, now we're gonna use more of the Quin Gold over here into the green. I'm just mixing, and this kind of goes straight down, right? Okay, and then here. A little more green. I'm just kind of playing with the colors here. We're just popping them in. You see, I'm just kind of going back and forth. And what I'm gonna need to do with some of this is, it is more, I'm adding, mine's a little stripey. And so like, especially in here, this is too stripey. I need to kind of blend that together a bit. Yep. And this is almost all green. You don't see any, yep. You don't really see any blue here. We're gonna kind of bring down and add some definition as I come here, but I'm gonna grab some lighter colors because it's starting to get lighter and I don't wanna mess that up. So we're gonna kind of like, yeah. Okay, I'm liking this. What do you guys think? This is a little muddy here, but that's okay. I probably need to let this dry. And like what I'm noticing is like this right here, my lights are not light enough. I might have to go back in with a lighter paint color and add some. And yeah, oh, I like that. So this is kind of what I'm just kind of like scraping along, right? Because that's kind of what it's doing. It's kind of cool. And then as it goes to this side, it gets kind of blue. No, it's definitely blue. So let's get some blue in there, right? And so like these same things are coming in. Ooh, too blue. Is it too blue? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we're just gonna go with it. If it's too blue, we can add a little pink. A little cobalt. There we go. I think that's better. I might pull a little bit of that out. I'm kind of liking what's happening here. So we're gonna just kind of like, and then this is just gonna, there. All right. I'm just adding these little bits of green as I go. And what I'm noticing is in this reference photo, there's more kind of yellowy green happening here than I have. So I'm just going to kind of add that in. Same thing in here. All right, I think I'm gonna leave it. I am worried that I keep messing with it. I'm gonna mess it up. I say that and I'm probably not gonna leave it because I can see right now I wanna go in with a darker gray green. So I'm gonna add some pink and blue. Ooh, that's good. Okay, and it's really dark like right here. And that darkness kind of comes all the way up to here. So I want to add that in, and then there's like a spot where it kind of comes in like that. There. And the same is true for like over here. There's like and it kind of like comes like down. Yep, and there's like some streakiness that happens. Oh, that's good. Okay. Okay, I think I'm liking the water a lot. I think it's got like some like, oh yeah, that's good. This is a bit more ooh. Okay, don't overdo it. Just because you like something doesn't mean you should do it 100 times. Okay. That's it. This, I keep saying that, but then I see something like this is really green right here. Oops, it just went over the top of this board. Okay. Let's put a little more definition in these trees. I actually don't know that this is an improvement. What do we think? Ugh, I think I have a lot more work to do on this. These boards are really off. I don't like that. I think it's an improvement. It's an improvement. You know what? It's an improvement. And my style is looser. I've done some things that are different. Looks different. Is it progress? I don't know. Okay, so now we're going to go back in with some of our greens. And I just want to like brighten this up, right? And so we're just going to kind of come in. And we've got like greens that connect down like this. And like this. Just letting that come in. Like here, there's this big bush that's beautiful here. I'm just kind of connecting it because it feels a little disconnected. And so we're letting this green kind of cover everything to just kind of give it a bit more continuity. Just to make it feel not so disconnected. There. I like it. What we are going to do is the trunks for my tree. And in this, they're much lighter, but I am not going to do that. I'm going to use this like green brown. I'm just taking my pink and mixing it in here until I get a nice color I like. Maybe a little more blue. There we go. That's really pretty brown. Okay, so I used my sap green. This whole painting has been done with cobalt blue, sap green, quin gold, and quin rose. I don't think I've used anything else. I think those, oh, and we used a little bit of cerulean blue. This is really funky. I don't love that, so I might try to do something with the clouds, but I don't know, we'll see. All right, this maybe needs to be a little darker. So let's just add a little bit more blue, and a little bit more gold, and a little bit more. There we go. Okay, there. Oh, isn't that a pretty brown? Okay, now these trees, remember that this one had this lovely kind of Y shape that kind of came up like this and came down like this. Did I lose that a little bit? Yes, but that's okay. Okay, and then we have another one right here that kind of, I'm not going to come through everything, but we're just going to kind of come this way. And then down in here. And it also branched off. And you can see most of this branch up here. Let's just like make this a little wider here. There we go. This is a big tree. Okay, there we go. And then we have some other, there's like some branches coming this way. There's one that kind of like comes like that. And there's like that. Okay, I'm just letting my brush kind of dance around. Okay, so then we had another tree that is like here, but you don't see the trunk as much down there as you do here. So we're gonna go like this. But you see it kind of branching off here. And you see where I'm holding my paintbrush? I am holding it so loose. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. That's okay. All right, and then there's a little bit over here, but Okay, we've got like a weird white space here, but I'm gonna kind of, I think I'm gonna just, and we're gonna use some of this like really nice bright green to give a little bit of shape, because we've got leaves that are coming like this. Yeah, and there's like some shadowing underneath of it, right? So I'm just kind of dancing around, dancing around. Same thing up here. There's like some nice leaf shapes happening here and here. I'm going to try not to overwork it. And here, give a little bit more shape here and here. There's like some there, like that. And I think what we want to do is, let's do a little bit. Let the water splatter. A little splashy here. And we've got just little tiny leaves coming off of that, because I think that's pretty. Yeah. See how we're like, okay, yeah, those are individual leaves. I like that. We're just gonna kind of do a little bit of that in here too. Without painting, we're not painting every shape by any, any sense, not getting crazy, but we're just making sure you can see that, like, yeah, these are trees, and the rest of this is kind of bushy. Okay, now what I want to do is mix up a really nice dark green, and we're going to do that by grabbing some cobalt. Look at that, isn't that pretty? And here, a little more cobalt. There, that's what we want. And we're going to use this to create the definition that happens under these trees. And we're just going to kind of come in like that. We're giving ourselves some really nice dark value. And I'm negative painting around some of these shapes. And we've got kind of come up in here because it's kind of sticks out like that. I'm just using my reference photo, and I'm looking at some of these shapes and some of the ways in which it gets separated. So like right here, you can see how it kind of fans out like this, and then it kind of comes up. I'm using the side of my brush, and then I'm using the tip of my brush like that. And I'm just gonna come here, and what this does is, you see how that kind of cuts in? Now I've got this beautiful definition happening, this negative painting that creates this like sense of depth, and now we've got one bit of foliage in front of the other, right? And we're going to come up here, and what we might do is then add a little bit of water and just kind of fan that out a bit so that you can see that this is part of this bush, right? Okay, now we've got this beautiful layering. This is not something that I have achieved in any of these other paintings. So again, when we're looking at progress, over here I'm doing the same thing. We've got kind of comes up like this, right? And this is the underneath, and then there's like kind of an underneath here. So we're just gonna give it a little bit of that. There we go. And we can see it's sitting against this, right? There. Oh gosh, that's really nice. And then we're going to do the same thing, a little bit more blue involved for this one. I'm just kind of dancing around. I'm not looking about getting the exact lines or anything like that. I want to get some blue in here to get this really nice deep blue color. And you can see there's some darkness that kind of comes in here. So I want to just like, I want to capture that. And it's kind of flows in underneath of here, and it kind of flows in a little bit underneath of here. And it's definitely back here. And now we can see that these are two different trees, right? This is some kind of foliage or bush or tree. This is something different. This is something different. We're developing this with this negative painting. Now we're going to do that over here. I need a little more Quin Pink just to give me a little grayer color, right? I need this to be nice and pigmented though. Not a lot of water. I don't have a lot of water in my brush. And then we're going to add, so I'm using Quin Pink because that knocks that down into this more muted color, more olivey color. And then I'm using some of my, I'm starting off with my sap green, and so I'm adding in Quin Pink and I'm adding cobalt blue. Now this is a bit more bluish, which is what I want. And you see what we have here? That's like here. So what we want to do is come up, and you can see it's kind of fluffy, right? So we're going to make it kind of fluffy. It's got some lines, right? And so we're gonna kind of do that. But I'm not gonna get hung up in creating too much of the shapes, because otherwise I'm gonna get too busy. So I'm trying to do this kind of overall shape that comes in here, right? And it comes in down here. You can see there's like here, and it gets a little lighter. There's like here. Okay, and what we're going to do is kind of edge this out a little. So I'm adding a little bit of water to my brush, and I'm just pushing it forward a little. There. But I don't like how this is kind of rounded right here. And so what's happening is it's kind of pushing too far in there. So I'm just going to pull some of that back out with my paper towel. There we go. All right, and then same thing here, like this shape is getting a little funky, so it's getting a little too high up. So I'm just gonna kind of pull some back in there. There we go, there. And then up here, somehow my tree has gotten a little lower. You can see that like there's the top of this bush, and then there's this back here. Mine has gotten a little too, I'm gonna kind of like pull, this is like a evergreen, right? And mine is lower because that's just what happened with my paint. So I'm going to use what I have. So this bush is going to get a little pointier and a little less round, but that's okay. There. We're going to just kind of bring it down in here just a little bit. But not right here. I think we want to keep this one kind of light right here. All right. And then the last part is this, and I'm only going to do a little bit because we're at the edge. There. Does that make sense? I think so. And there's a little bit here that comes around. Okay. Oops, that was my chair being very loud. I've got a little bit up here. I don't know how long this video is, so we'll see. I think it's probably very long. And a little bit up in here. A little bit of darkness right up here. And a little bit like in here. And a little bit in here. All right, I think I'm done. I'm going to work on this dock probably a little later, but last year's and this year's. This is much better. This, I had a hard time developing dimension. My ability to paint negatively is better. This got a little bigger than I wanted, but that's okay. And then if we look at this original one, oh my goodness, definitely an improvement. I haven't put the texture in here. I don't know how much texture I'm going to put in here. Some, but probably not as much as this. I don't want this much color. So should we work on that? Let's work on that. We'll just finish this up. And if this video is 2 hours long, well, that's how long it took me to post or paint this. I guess that's okay, right? All right, so I'm going to use this well here to develop these colors. And I'm going to start with like a pink and my Quin Gold, Quin Pink, and Cobalt. And that's how I'm going to get my gray. And I'm going to decide if I'm going to leave it a little more brown or a little more blue. And remember, I had it kind of like lighter back here. I kind of liked that. So I think I'm going to continue that. And I'm going to add a little more blue for this front part. Maybe a little more pink. There. A little more pink, a little more blue. What do we think of this? I think that's pretty nice. Okay, now I paint sideways a lot, as you can see. So I'm moving my board sideways. And I'm resting it on my thing, which could be a little risky, but that's okay. I'm just going to hold this here, and I'm going to kind of look at what I've got down here. So we kind of come in like this. Adding a little water because I want some texture, but I don't know if I want that much texture, right? We're gonna go like this, and then I need like a darker pile of this. So maybe back here. A nice gray brown. There we go. And I'm gonna just kind of come in to some of these, like we've got kind of a like, yeah. I'm not going to try to do too much, but I'm going to add some of this like texture, especially in these front ones, and then it gets a little bigger, a little narrower, and then there's like this kind of doubles. What's nice is it's a little wet right now. There. Okay, I think I'm going to leave that be. I don't think I'm going to put the nails in. I put the nails in past years, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Okay, now for this, we're going to come in with the same color, and we're just going to accentuate that because I need I don't want to add too much water, but I need enough water in my brush to let it flow. I think I'm going to have to get some more color in here. Go. Probably one of the mistakes I make when I do these kinds of paintings is I don't mix up enough color to start with, and then I'm having to remix all the time, and every time it's different, which I don't know, maybe that's a bad thing, maybe not. Okay, there we go. All right, I like that. It's not overpainted. It doesn't feel overpainted to me. Okay, so now we're going to add a little more blue. There we go. And we're going to do this one, which has kind of like a, right? You can see this, like, it's because it's wet. I think I mentioned that before, but I think that, and not all of the deck is, I need my brush to be more wet. And then this kind of just, there's like a lot of just like peekaboo, like some of it's dry. This is a little more water on my brush so that it floats across the paper bore. Kind of dry brushing, but I don't want it to be totally dry brushed. Now we're going to get this, like, needs a bit more blue in there, I think. Oh, too much. A little pink, a little queen gold. I think I'm going to need to clean out my palette after this and maybe refresh my paints. You can see I'm almost out of some of these colors. And it's because those are the ones I use the most. Too pink still. A little more queen gold. Little more blue. Too blue. Oh, geez. Okay, that feels better. Okay. Yep, I like that. Okay, so now, again, we're going to kind of come. There's kind of like a, ooh, I think this is going to be too dark, though. I don't think I want it quite as dark. I'm mixing over here because there's a little bit of water here. Okay, now we're going to go, there's like kind of a line that comes here, and it kind of goes all the way down, but it kind of breaks and then goes down like that. Maybe a little too dark, but that's okay. All right, and then there's another kind of graining that's happening here. And then we've got some like, and I think what I like is right here on this edge, it's just kind of like there's some extra, right? Okay, let's leave that be. I like like that. We've got some soft edges and some hard edges. So now we're going to do the same thing. You can see my paints are kind of separating over here, and that's kind of cool too. Okay, so now you can see like it's kind of wet like here. And it kind of swoops there and here. But, and then it kind of, and then here, it's like, it skips right here and it kind of hooks around. So we're going to kind of give it that. And then there's another like hooks around. And then here, same thing. We're kind of like, it's kind of lighter though. I'm just going to kind of give this some texture. And then same thing. And then here we've got some like more color here. And it kind of comes like that. There's a knot that is right here. Okay. Let's get a little more clean gold in here because this board comes like that. We want to add a little more definition here. Okay, now, and we're adding a bit more yellow because as we get back to here, our texture is a little bit more, and it's a bit more faded. So, we just kind of, yeah, we're not going to add much to that. All right, we're going to keep that interest all up here. Now, let's add in, see how this is like this darker right here? It's got a lot of like, let's add a little more blue. It's got a lot of blue in it. So let's add some of that right here. And it's like also, like this board is a little lighter, but then it's kind of dark here too. Okay, I think we're gonna add in a little bit of this. So let's get this a little darker. We're gonna have to add a little bit more of our gray tones in here, right? A nice gray. All right, and now we have this line, which is almost non-existent here, but it gets bigger here, right? And we kind of see it here. And there's some like, just like some really gentle graining in here. And so we're just gonna kind of add in, it's pretty wet, so I don't know if it's gonna take. I don't think it is. Okay, this board has like a little hook right here. And it kind of comes right there too. Kind of coming here as well. All right, and then we're going to kind of come like this. And here. Some more blue in this, so let's get a bit more blue. I don't know, it just feels more blue. I'm gonna put a, I don't know why, but I just feel like right, and let's see, this one and this one, and this one's lighter and this one's darker again. There's just some blue. Okay. And this seems like this should just be darker in general. Yep. I need to start leaving this alone because I feel like I'm losing sight of what I was doing. Let's get a nice dark, whoops, wrong color. Okay, I'm going to use this same color. Let's bring it in here. And I'm just using, I decided to go way more blue for this because I just want this to be really in shadow. And so we're going to do this. And if it edges in, I'm good with that because it's just interesting. And then we're going to come up here. This one, we've got this dark line that comes this way, right? I'm going to kind of pull it from this side, which is opposite of how I usually go, but so that I can very lightly trail it off. Because that's kind of what happens to it. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing. There's one here. And just barely dipping it in. And there's one that comes here. Okay. I'll leave it. I think I'm gonna leave it. I might take a smaller brush and water this down a bit more, so it's just really light, and do just a little bit here, just to kind of give this maybe a little darker than that, just so that you can see that these continue. This is kind of big right here, so we'll make sure we some of that off with my finger. Okay, I think I'm gonna be done. I wanted to fix the clouds a bit, and that's gonna happen by wiping out one of my areas. So I'm gonna use this dock area. This is not where I usually mix blues. Do I want to use there? It's the easiest place to clean out. But no, I think I'm gonna, yeah. Actually, let's use here. I always do kind of warm colors here. So let's clean out this area. I'm just using my old paper towel. I just want to have a nice clean blue, which is going to be a little hard to get because my stuff is so messy right now. That's okay. I've got dog hair in here. That's not good. All right. Now, I think I've mumbled through this. I think this is probably a terrible recording. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to post this. I don't even know if my camera's still recording. Isn't that crazy? But I did get a painting done, and that's, I guess, maybe the most important part. Okay, so I'm going to get my beautiful, beautiful cobalt blue, and I'm going to add in a little bit of cerulean because that is what's the color of the sky. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of come in and give a little bit of more definition. So like here, we've got our clouds, right, are coming up here. And I'm just going to kind of come in and create some of that sky and create these cloud shapes a little better. I don't usually screw with clouds after the painting is done. I try to do my sky beforehand, but these just didn't turn out as well as I wanted. Now we're just going to kind of pull this same color very carefully. I'm going to use a lot of water here into here. And I'm going to go right on top of there. Okay. All right, not bad. Now let's kind of come in and just come in where that tree is. Boy, I don't know about this. This was risky. Need a clean paper towel. And we're just gonna kind of come here. There. Okay, I think that's gonna have to be okay. I do not love this. Okay, and this kind of came in. Okay, so our blue came in through here. This is like almost, I wish I had gouache. Sometimes I wish I was a gouache painter, not a watercolor painter, because this is an area where I think it would be easier to come in and fix this with gouache. I don't think I'm making this better. I think I'm making this worse. Definitely worse. So we're just gonna pull a bunch of that back out again. Ooh, this is a bad sky. Well, you know what? Let's go like this. We're gonna do something different. I don't want to wreck this brush. So we're going to use this brush, which is my scrubbing brush. I just got pink all over everything. Ha ha ha. Okay. I don't know if this is better, but I think it unwrecks it. I don't know. This was such a nice, uncomplicated sky. Maybe we just try to make the sky be less part of the painting. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in. I don't ever do this usually. Very rarely. I'm going to use a little bit of Chinese white, which I have in here. Okay, I probably need to pour some more from the tube, but... And now we're just going to go in and paint these clouds in. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever done a sky this way before. This is a terrible sky, but that's okay. My water's good. Okay, this is helping. I just need to like tone this down and just, yeah, not happy with the way it turned out, so we're just gonna kind of tone it down. Yep, tone it down, and I think this is helping for that. Maybe, we'll see. Okay, and I'm gonna stop screwing with it. I am gonna go back in with, am I gonna fix that? No. It's got some interesting things. We're not going to fix it. We're going to leave it off. Okay, I think we're done. I'm done. This is my painting for 2025. Okay, so to review, this is 2022. This is 2023, so you can see my progress there. This is 2024. And this is 2025. And perfect? No. Sky, not as good. However, I really like the negative painting I have here. I think the foliage is better. I think my water is definitely better. And I think that I've handled this better. I think my perspective is better. I think this has got some really cool, interesting things. I left the paint alone. I painted more loosely. I allowed the paint to flow into its own thing. Those are all wins. That's all progress. So I'm going to call this a success. And I'm going to repaint it next year and we'll see where we're at. All right. Thank you for watching. Okay. And reference photo one last time. All right. That's it.